Alright, so in the next few videos, we're going to focus on HTML forms. So forms are how we get input from a user, whether it's to sign up for a page, to comment on a photo, to upload a photo, to pick a color, to pick a date. There's so many different things we do with forms, and it's actually relatively simple in HTML. There's just two important elements that we're going to learn about here. So we're going to focus on the form tag, the input tag, the label tag, and then we're also going to finish up by learning about validations for our data. How do we make sure someone fills in part of our form, someone cannot leave our password blank or email blank or something like that. So to start, let's just take a quick survey of some of the forms we encounter in day-to-day life. So I have some images here from sites like Twitter, Facebook, Google. Let's take a look and break some of these down. So here's the login form for Facebook. We have a place where we can type some text in, a text input. Another input where we type passwords in. Most likely when you type your password there, it's dotted out, so you don't actually see the password. And then a checkbox. And when we click this button, it submits this entire thing. So it groups these together. We don't have one button for email, one button for password, one button for the checkbox. It all goes at once. Same thing here when we sign up. We've got more inputs, 5 different text inputs, 3 different drop-down menus. These are called select tags. And then 2 things called radio buttons. And then finally a sign up button that is going to take all of this and send it somewhere for Facebook to use. So what we're going to learn today is the form tag. And these forms are going to be a little bit dumb. They're not going to actually do anything. We need to actually have a back-end set up. We need a database, we need some logic and some back-end code to do anything with the forms. So for now, they're just going to look like this. We'll be able to recreate this. But when you click sign up or you click login or you search on Google, our forms aren't actually going to do any of that logic. They're just going to be the front end, the user-facing part of things. So the first thing is the form tag. So the form tag is basically a shell or a container for all of these different types of inputs. So this is one form tag around all of this. This might be one form tag around all of these, and so on. Here's another form tag. By just making a form tag, you don't actually see anything on the page. We'll see that in just a second. Basically, it's just a container, and we put all of our different inputs in there. So checkboxes and buttons and drop-down menus and color pickers all go inside of a form tag. So there are 2 important attributes. We'll be spending some more time with this when we get to backend, so try not to get hung up on exactly how this works. But a form is going to send a request somewhere. It sends data from the form to a server somewhere. So the first part, action, is going to specify where to send the data. Is it going to Google? Is it going to our sign up page? Is it going to our sign out? We're going to learn a lot more about how we actually do that on the backend section of this class. And then the second part is what type of HTTP request to send. So we could send a GET request or we could send a POST request. And again, this is another thing we're going to spend a lot more time on. But the simple, generalized version, we make a GET request when we're doing something like searching, we're retrieving data, we're trying to get information. And we make a POST request when we're sending data that we want to be added to a database, posted to a server. So in these examples, this here, when you search on Google, you hit enter or you click on search, that's going to make a GET request. It's not actually adding anything to a database. It's not changing anything. It's purely just getting data back. Searching, it's getting data. It's a GET request. These here, though, to sign up for Facebook or sign up for Twitter, those are going to be POST requests. When you type some data in and you click sign up, it takes your data and actually adds it to Twitter's database. So again, we're going to actually work on that quite a bit later in this class. So for now, just be familiar with action and method and the fact that they exist. So the input tag is what actually goes inside of our forms. It's what's going to create the different inputs that we see here. A text input, a password input, a radio button. It doesn't actually create a drop-down menu, so we'll talk about that in a later exercise, but it creates all sorts of different inputs for user input. So I have a few examples here. They're all exactly the same except for this type attribute. So if type equals text, we get a text box. Type equals date, we get this little date picker. Type equals color, we get a color picker, type equals file, we get a file picker, type equals checkbox, we get a checkbox. So I'm actually going to pull up MDN and search for input. And as I do that, you'll see as I scroll down to attributes, under type, there's a list of all the possible types that we can specify. And there's about 30 or 40 of them here. And to be honest, there's a lot on here that you probably will never need to use, but there are a few that you use all the time. And so we're going to really focus on those. Those are things like text, email, password, date, button, submit. Then some of the other ones like color, you may not use very often at all. I definitely wish we had more chances to do color pickers. It's my favorite of the inputs. But I want you to be aware that there's a lot of different choices here. So then to make a form, we just take a form tag and we fill it with some input tags. So here's a really simple example. We have two inputs, type equals text, type equals password, and it makes us this nice form here. And you can see as we fill out this first type equals text, it just looks like regular text. And as we fill out the type equals password, it gives us those dotted, the hidden password fields.